as I left. But one of the things that I always had in my mind was that I wanted my mama and daddy to know that I was doing my best to be who I was wanting to be and who I thought I was supposed to be. So I ended up doing some things at the baseball field that would give me some kind of understanding of who I was on the inside. So after the baseball game, while I would see everybody else who was in the game, they would have dirt stains. They would look like they had been in the ball game. But when I looked down at my clothes, they were clean, had no dirt on them. So what I would do, y'all, is I would run the bases and then I would get to home plate and I would slide into home plate and I would get real dirty. And after I got real dirty, I would get back into Granddaddy's truck and we would drive on back to the house. And when I walked in the house, I would look at my mama and she would look at me and say, "You must have been doing a lot out there." And so right then that boosted my ego because it made me feel like I was somebody. It boosted what I thought about who I was. And then she looked at me and said, "My boy." And so it really made me think that I was somebody because I had dirt on my clothes and it looked like I had been in a game. But all the while I understood that my mama knew deep down inside that I hadn't did nothing but run around and got dirty. Can I talk to somebody in here? And when it looked like I had been in the building, then it looked like I had been on the field and played ball. How many of y'all know that when the smoke cleared, the reality was I was just a bet boy. I had never been in a game. Can I talk to some Christians in here? Many of us hide behind titles and the things that we do in the church. But the reality is many of us haven't gotten in the game yet. There are a whole lot of us that claim to be saved on Sunday, but Monday through Friday there's a whole different story. There's a whole lot of us in here who have been saved for years but have not started to do what God has called you to do. And I need somebody in here to recognize that when the smoke clears, God knows who you is from your head to your toes. Do I have any Christians in here that will declare that when the smoke clears, I am who God has called me to be? Y'all, in the text he says, "It was in the year that King Uzziah died that I recognized that God had a call on my life." Can I talk to somebody in here that remembers the day that God touched your life? How many of y'all know that every now and then you need to remind yourself of the experience you had when God first touched your life? Because when you remind yourself of that experience, it tells you of how God wanted to use you from day one. Is there anybody that will declare, when I think about where God has brought me from, I can just give God glory because I should be dead and gone, but I'm still. He says, "It was in the year King Uzziah died that I saw the Lord." Now, one of the things that has begun to puzzle me as I try to figure out my own hermeneutic and what I believe about God and how I see the ancient text through my own eyes, is because church has really started to trip me out. Because I first, y'all, thought that church was a place where you go to grow, where you go to understand God. Because how many of y'all know that there was a day that when I first went into a church, I sat on the back row because I was just glad to be in church. I didn't know why I was there, didn't know what I was hearing from the preacher. All he was doing was a bunch of hollering, but I at least could say that I had been in church. But now, y'all, as I look at the church